friends, I'm Courtney and welcome to my channel. If you haven't already watched it, I suggest checking out my two latest videos. One was my Read Like a Gilmore Reading Challenge reveal, so that will be kicking off April 1st, but if you want to get more details, that video has what you need to do to sign up and to get prepared. And then the other video from last week was my top historical fiction novels, so 5 or 6 books that have stuck with me that have a different spin on what we know when it comes to world history. Also, feel free to check out my social media handles and channels over on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, where I post a lot more bookish content on a more regular basis, more so than once or twice a week like here on my YouTube channel. All right, so today we are going over some of my all-time favorite spring reads, or books that remind me of spring. So it was the first day of spring. Is it the vernal equinox? Is that what it's called? On the 20th, so this past Saturday, and that was a joyous occasion. I love the first day of spring, or spring in general. It's just, things just seem brighter, happier, more sunshine, more times to be outside. Even before filming this video, I went for a long run a little bit earlier in the morning, still kind of crisp, but as the time went on and the distance got longer, it was just beautiful. And just hearing the birds chirp, you might be able to hear that in the background of this video. And I don't know, it's just emergence of more life, because we've been inside for so long, not just because of COVID, but because of just winter and it being cold. And that emergence into the daytime, sunlight, whatever, just always puts a smile on my face. And what better way to commemorate that experience than reading good books that remind us of that time? So I can't have a spring reads list without including this beautiful book, copy, version, whatever you want to say, of Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. So this book, just the feeling of being able to walk places. I mean, like most people didn't really have a choice back then, or they just chose to walk to get to town or to get to other people's homes. I'm thinking of Lizzie for more specifically, I guess, but just the scenes of her walking and reading in the fields just get me so excited. Like, I've done that before, maybe not in a field, but like through a park and like around a track. But if I can find like a countryside and walk through that area with a book, or just enjoying the atmosphere and the environment, I would definitely do that. So this version is so beautiful. We've got the sprayed edges here, and then we have such beautiful artwork on the inside and outside covers. And yeah, just even like the script of like the drop cap of the first paragraph of every chapter. It's just amazing. It just screams spring, happiness, being outside, being in the country, and like with the elements and the environment. What else can I say? It's the perfect read, especially if I like maybe make a cup of tea and sit outside on the balcony and just curl up with this book in my chair. And yeah, that would be fantastic. I also didn't show the spine. Just a beautiful book. All right, something with actual springy feelings and flowers on it is What Kind of Woman by Baer. So this is a poetry collection that was released last November, and I absolutely loved this collection. Like, I wasn't really a big fan or really opted to read poetry in the past unless it was for like a class assignment or like somebody sent me something, but it was fantastic. So Baer writes all about being a woman in terms of like independence, strength, what that may mean, and like how she defines it and not what society defines as being a woman and being a female. So she approaches it through family life, through careers, friendships, and just being a person in the world. And it has such phenomenal insights. I mean, like, these aren't like really lengthy poems. They're very simple, but the impact beyond the simplicity of the poetry itself is mind-blowing and just makes you think way more about, at least for me, as I identify as female and a woman, it makes me think about like bigger picture things as it comes to my actions and my words when speaking to other people. So yeah, very insightful, and another kind of like emergence and growth into ourselves. Then we have The Happiness Project by Gretchen Rubin. This isn't particularly a like set in springtime kind of read. It's a nonfiction read, and this is about Gretchen as she spends a whole year. It's like her New Year's resolution to focus on things that bring her happiness and like how she can kind of change her mindset. So this spoke to me a lot. I've read this a couple years ago, and I've even like flagged several parts of it. And this just reminds me of like wintertime. Like it is true of having the winter blues, and also in the time of COVID, like mentally, a lot of us aren't at our best. So something like this, focusing on the positives in life and things that you can and can't control, is just something that I know I definitely needed at this time. And especially as we are about to be like vaccinated and brought back into society in a way, or like civilization, seeing what things aren't going to be the same, but what again are things that we can control in terms of our thoughts, emotions, actions, and words, and like what things do we need to let go of. And I feel that's so important, especially like in the springtime, as you think of things regrowing and life coming back, or things coming back to life after a long winter. It's, I guess, not funny, maybe ironic. I'm watching or rewatching Game of Thrones, and they keep talking about winter is coming, and I'm like, no, like, go away. I don't want. And that had to do with like the Night Walkers and like death and like all this bad stuff happening and coming for them for a while. So like, can we get past that part? Like, winter is done. It's over. We're moving on. And this, I think, helps with that, with her different goals and her I guess like to-dos or challenges that she puts for herself. So for example, she makes 12 different commandments, and I'll read them to you. So be Gretchen, let it go, act the way I want to feel, do it now, be polite and be fair, enjoy the process, spend out, identify the problem, lighten up, do what ought to be done, no calculation, there's only love. So she tries to like abide by these commandments as she goes throughout her year. And then she also came up with like these secrets of adulthood it says, lessons I learned with some difficulty as I'm grown up. I'm not sure why it took me years to embrace the notion that over-the-counter medication actually would cure a headache, but it had. So it's kind of, it does have some like comical moments in it, but it's also like revelations of herself and things that she's learned over the course of the year. But I'm going to focus on it in terms of springtime. Then we have The Little Paris Bookshop by Nina George. And this just reminds me of like the Parisian atmosphere of like flowers and people out and about and cafes and just conversations and community. So this focuses more on a floating bookshop, like a barge kind of style on the Seine in Paris. And the bookstore owner or bookshop owner is like more of like a book pharmacist in terms of like prescribing books for what ails the customers or the patrons, or I mean, maybe not ails them. They might be in great moods, or might be having things that are going positively in their life, and things just to make it better, or books to make it better. So yeah, I just love, I'm hoping to be able to travel again. And the only time I visited Paris was in December, so it was pretty cold. But when I think about like European cities and just being like immersed in the culture, there's like people everywhere, and like, I don't know, this is gonna sound silly, but like the clothes look like so nice and refreshing and clean, and like, and I mean clean by like white, like, I don't know, that's it's a weird way to describe it. I'm picturing for people that want to wear like a white t-shirt and like a really cute high-waisted floral skirt. Like, that's what I'm imagining with people walking around in Paris. I don't know, because I've never been there in the springtime. But yeah, this just reminds me, like I said, of like that fresh air and just being outside and enjoying a good book on the river. Then I have Britt-Marie Was Here by Fredrik Backman, and this is one of my all-time favorite books. I read this last year and ranked it like pretty high, and I think it was either my number one or like close to like top 5 books of 2020. So this details Britt-Marie after she goes through a divorce of some sort, or like trying to figure out like a separation with her husband who had cheated on her, and she goes to this like random, like small, outdated town to kind of not necessarily start over, but it turns out that she is finding herself there, and she's always been like not somebody that understands like sarcasm, and like she's very like straightforward and dry, but she is learning as she meets these people and like interacts with this eccentric and unique community. She is discovering herself all over again and like who she wants to be and how she can be like a positive influence in other people's lives and vice versa. So she's more accepting, she's more open as the experience goes on, and she helps like the soccer team form and like train and be better, and she doesn't realize at the time like how much this town means to her until like the very end. So it's having to do with that growing into oneself as I think about spring, and like rediscovering oneself, finding the true happiness or what really matters in the world. She finds a place where she can be herself, or that is accepting of her. She can see herself growing even more. Then we have Uncommon Type, some stories by Tom Hanks, and this is a unique collection. So I don't think I've read or intentionally read a collection of short stories before picking this up, and I enjoyed it. So I never knew, I guess the same with the poetry that I just talked about with What Kind of Woman, like there is a theme around there, but he like literally takes the theme and puts it into all of his stories. So each short story has a typewriter in it of some kind. It could be the main focus, so it's like a writer, or it could be a object in the background as people are talking in this room or something. So I found that so unique, and the reason I picked it for spring reads is that I imagine somebody breaking out their typewriter or laptop and finally being able to sit outside or like go to like a cabin or something in the woods and sit on the deck or the porch and start writing and just listen to the sounds of life and animals and creatures and trees coming back to life, the rustling of the trees. So it just sounds so romantic to me, and typewriters are so, they may be considered like old-fashioned or like who uses those anymore, but it's still, I don't know, I feel like that's a lot of what's happening nowadays. Like things from the past are re-emerging themselves in like cool, trendy kind of ways, like knitting, crocheting, cross-stitching, which I've just picked up, which is freaking amazing, and all these kinds of things, which may seem silly, but it's like everything like is cyclical and comes back. And I think typewriters, it gets you away from the day-to-day of technology. Like most of us have jobs or are living day-to-day with some kind of technology, whether it's our phones, our computers, iPads, whatever it may be, and this is just a analog way to disconnect from all of that. And I think that's a perfect time to do that in the spring, where we've been stuck inside all day, every day for months, and now we can like get a breath of fresh air and kind of step away from all those distractions that weren't really helping us, but were there like literally as distractions. So I feel like this is a good one to kind of re-emerge ourselves into a different time of the year and kind of think about being outside and detached from like those pieces of technology that really aren't, we say they're used for connecting to other people, but for most parts it's just comparing ourselves, like seeing fake news or whatever the case is that may not be healthy for ourselves, and kind of seeing things for ourselves out in the open. And then I think Uncommon Type and typewriters can help us do that. All right, so those are all the books that I have for the spring reads. So there's probably a number of books I could have shared that have to do actually with the springtime, but I thought it'd be kind of fun to incorporate books that just remind me of spring, or like what spring means as a whole, or like symbolizes as it comes to like my thoughts and like things I want to do and be. So I thought that would be pretty fun to share. So if you have any other ideas, or if you've read any of these books, let me know down in the comments. I like doing these kind of seasonal themed reads, so I'll probably do something like this the 3 other seasons of the year, so summer, fall, and winter, and see what happens from there. But anyway, I hope you have a great day. Thank you so much for watching. If you like it, give it a thumbs up or comment down below. I have my coffee and wish list listed below if you want to support me in a different kind of way. If you want to click subscribe or hit the notification bell to know when I post next, feel free to do that. Share it with others. The more the merrier. I love seeing y'all's comments and you engaging with the channel, so thank you so much. Anyway, happy reading, happy spring, and I'll talk to you later.